I'm a straight man, but unexpectedly, I was transported into a novel. That's right, it's one of those adult novels without any morals. Fortunately, this novel I'm in is a 1v1 romance. Otherwise, I'd really go crazy. And my identity is the shared rental roommate of the two male leads. For people live in a big house. There are 3 rich second-generation guys experiencing the hardships of the common people. 2 gay men, and only I'm the poor soul doing all the hard work. At first, in order to survive, I didn't even dare to take off my pants when sleeping in my room every day. I even spent a fortune to change the door lock of my room. I was so nervous, afraid of losing my virtue at such a late stage in my life. As a result, after 2 days, I got a whole body of heat rash from sweating so much. But the male leads didn't even remember my name. I bit my pillow and cried silently. This was really both sad and relieving. The next day, I was woken up by the sound of another cannon fodder roommate closing the door. I staggered out of my room in a daze, ready to wash up. I found that the protagonist, Benjamin, was walking in with a bag of luxurious breakfast. I quickly rushed over obsequiously. As a result, Benjamin just nodded coldly with a straight face and then mercilessly brushed past me. Okay, I was just being over-enthusiastic, buddy. I silently changed my clothes. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Benjamin walking straight towards the room of the other protagonist, Michael, speaking in a very gentle voice. "Michael, get up and have breakfast." Then I heard a soft moan from the room. I curiously poked my head to take a look. The fair-skinned and good-looking Michael was lying on the bedside, talking to Benjamin, looking very cute. It made Benjamin's eyes full of tenderness. I got goosebumps just watching, and quickly grabbed my bag and slipped out of the shared apartment. They're so clingy even before they've officially confirmed their relationship. If they really get together, the load-bearing wall of this shared apartment might collapse. The protagonists of adult novels are just so against the norm. I immediately started searching for the contact information of renovation workers. It's all about being prepared. Just as I saved the phone numbers of a few master decorators, someone patted me on the shoulder. I turned around and saw another supporting role roommate who also worked in the same company as the 3 of us. He stuffed a breakfast into my arms. I was immediately so touched that I was in floods of tears. "Thanks, buddy." "Yeah, eat it." Actually, this supporting role roommate was no less well-off, good-looking, or popular than the 2 protagonists, but he got the supporting role script, so he, like me, could only be a supporting character with a sense of grievance. After I finished the breakfast in a few mouthfuls, I noticed that he was staring straight at me. There was a strange look on his usually cold and aloof handsome face. I was puzzled. "What's wrong, Daniel?" "Samuel, do you think there's something off between Michael and Benjamin?" "Yes, Samuel is me. Look, the names of supporting characters are just so lacking in meaning." I calmly asked in return, "What's off about them?" "I feel like they're always sticking together, just like a couple in love." As an important part of advancing the plot, I started to pave the way for the protagonists. Let them date. It's the 21st century, and love is free. You're not discriminating against them, are you? Let me tell you, Michael and Benjamin have been nice to us. Discrimination is not good for the harmony of our shared apartment. I deliberately put on a straight face to remind him. Daniel, the supporting role roommate, glanced at me and shook his head indifferently. "No, I just want to confirm if you're against it." "Of course I'm not against it. We're all brothers." I happily pulled Daniel towards the company but accidentally caught a glimpse of him seemingly glancing at me. However, that look was so calm and upright that I didn't think much of it. After slacking off at the company for a while, I saw the 2 main characters finally arrive late. Originally, Michael and I used to go in and out together, but now Benjamin has made his feelings clear. He directly and subtly lured Michael to his side, full of possessiveness. I don't know what sweet talk he said at this moment, which made Michael's eyes sparkle and his ear tips turn red with shyness. The supporting character colleagues around are typical blind people who can only blink but not observe. Except for me. Looking at this scene, I couldn't help but let out a lewd click of my tongue. It seems that Michael is not far from realizing his feelings. I hope all the hotels in this city are ready for a first-level response to welcome the upcoming Third World War. Just as I was silently sighing, Daniel at the next workstation suddenly asked me a question. "Samuel, how can you tell if you like men?" I was stunned. How would I know? I'm a straight man. But I still explained enthusiastically. I think it should be similar to how you feel about women. You have possessiveness and impulses towards the person you like. Look at Benjamin. He keeps Michael close every day. When I smiled at Michael yesterday, Benjamin glared at me several times. Then do you have impulses towards the same sex? I scoffed, I'm a straight man. Of course, I only love cute girls. Really? The supporting character roommate slightly raised his eyes and looked at me, his gaze dark. Benjamin also said he was straight before. It's an inevitable trend for the main characters to turn gay. How could I be the same? Looking at Daniel's inquisitive eyes, afraid that the straight man was worried about being influenced by the gays under the same roof, I immediately vowed to assure him. Don't worry, buddy. I'll stay with you. Daniel glanced at me and let out a soft laugh after a long while. It was lazy and full of meaning. In the following days, the relationship between the two protagonists advanced by leaps and bounds. They were just one step away from breaking down that flimsy closet door. Well, it was almost the same. Just when I was about to help them confess their feelings to each other, I entered the kitchen and found them being lovey-dovey. I stopped in my tracks with a straight face. Benjamin, after clarifying the relationship, is simply extremely flirty. That night, he deliberately spilled water on his own bed and then proposed to go to Michael's room to sleep. Naturally, Michael didn't refuse and blushed as he welcomed the other person into the room. The closed door couldn't block the rustling sounds. I silently put on noise, canceling headphones, and acted as a dutiful supporting character, pretending to be deaf and blind. I hope they can control themselves tonight. After all, the sound insulation effect of this house is just so. Facts show that I didn't think comprehensively enough. When I finally managed to fall asleep, I vaguely heard the sound of a door opening next door. At first, I didn't pay much attention, thinking someone was going to the toilet. But in my drowsiness, my urge to urinate became more and more obvious, and my bladder was starting to feel quite uncomfortable. I had to get up sleepily and leave my room, only to find that the light in the bathroom wasn't on. Is there no one? Could it be that I was seeing things just now? Just as I was about to open the door and go in, suddenly someone pulled me back from behind. I crashed straight into a chest. Don't move. A familiar voice sounded beside my ear, barely audible. I stopped my struggling movement. Daniel? What's wrong? I didn't dare to move and subconsciously responded in a whisper. Daniel let out a soft sigh and whispered something in my ear with his lips against it. The warm breath rushed in, making my ears tingle. Benjamin and Xiao are inside. I was stunned. I immediately pricked up my ears and listened carefully. Then I was speechless. It was like a world-class battle going on in the toilet. I can tolerate your usual affection, but you two don't treat me as an outsider now. It's as if Daniel and I are also part of your play. Do you think people are fools just because they don't get angry? Since my bladder was about to burst, Daniel directly took the dazed me out of the house. I ran straight to the public toilet in the community in my slippers. Daniel must have been holding it in too. He took off his pants beside me. Men always have a strange sense of competitiveness. I quietly glanced to the side, and that glance almost broke me down. Samuel, what are you looking at? Daniel's calm voice sounded beside me. I nervously let out a couple of dry laughs and averted my gaze. Nothing. I was just thinking if we should go back right after using the restroom. Are you sleepy? I said pitifully, pouting. Of course I'm sleepy. Daniel slowly pulled up his pants. Then let's go back. But what about Benjamin and Michael? I hesitated. The main thing is that I really don't want to listen to their live action performance at night. If you're worried about the awkwardness, I have an idea. I brightened up. What idea? Daniel lazily shook the water off his hands and glanced at me. Come to my room tonight. What the heck? Seeing me stunned, Daniel added another sentence. Come to my room and watch a movie with me. By the time we finish watching, they'll be done too. Then you can go to sleep without feeling awkward. His words made me a bit tempted. It's better to be awkward with two people than alone. Besides, Daniel's room is the most expensive one and has good sound insulation. We can watch the movie openly without being noticed by the protagonists. In this way, it'll be good for everyone. It's a win-win situation. I immediately agreed and quietly followed Daniel back to the shared house. The battle was still going on in the restroom. Even as a straight man, the noise made my face flush. But seeing Daniel looking so calm, I also managed to calm down. After picking up my phone, I quietly walked towards Daniel's room. Maybe due to a guilty conscience, I suddenly stumbled while walking. Before I could make a sound, my waist was firmly held by someone. Still in shock, I turned my head and whispered a thank you to Daniel. Thanks, buddy. Otherwise, I would have eaten dirt. It was terribly dark in the house, and I could hardly see his expression. After a few seconds, I heard him reply in a low voice, "Yeah, it's okay." I was so touched that I was on the verge of tears, not caring about the overly warm palm on my waist. Look, the friendship between us straight guys is just so pure and simple, untainted by any impurities. After I sat cross-legged obediently on Daniel's bed, Daniel also closed the door and got on the bed. By the faint moonlight outside the dormitory, I saw the muscle lines on his arms when he half lay down and tensed his muscles slightly. Jet black hair and a sharp-featured profile. If this were a cheesy romance novel, Daniel's good looks would definitely make him the perfect second male lead. I was having all sorts of random and absurd thoughts. Then I asked him, "What movie shall we watch?" Daniel sat down next to me, unlocked his tablet, and handed it to me like an obedient big dog. "You can watch whatever you want." Okay. I randomly picked a foreign horror movie with a very gory cover. "Let's watch this." Daniel had no objections. Just like that, we each put on an earphone and leaned side by side against the wall, watching the movie. First, the movie was okay. All the scary scenes made me so frightened that I kept leaning towards Daniel. Our thighs were touching and our arms were pressed against each other. We're just straight guy friends, so I didn't think much of it and was quite carefree. Daniel was really good-tempered. He didn't push me away and just let me snuggle up to him. But as I watched more, I felt something was off. Wait, why did the two male leads suddenly hold hands? Hey, why are they hugging each other? Something's wrong with this movie. I stared at the shameless scenes in the movie, stunned, and my face turned as red as a monkey's, but the horror movies in adult novels are also lowbrow. How can this situation be bearable for Daniel and me, two straight men? Phooey. I hurriedly tried to pause the movie, but suddenly Daniel, who had been silent all along, pressed my hand. He said, "Shoo, they're coming out." I froze instinctively. So, I carefully listened with one ear to the rustling sounds of the protagonists, while the other ear was forced to listen to the heart, fluttering and blush-inducing sounds in the movie. I didn't even dare to move. During this torturous ordeal, the palm of Daniel's hand on mine became even hotter. I suspiciously turned my head and glanced at him. No way, why did this young fellow suddenly have a fever? By the time I was so embarrassed that I felt like digging out a 3-bedroom apartment, it finally quieted down outside the room. I guess the two protagonists had gone back to their room to sleep. I quickly paused the movie and took off the earphones. "Daniel, I don't want to watch anymore. They've gone to sleep. Let's go to bed too." "Yeah." I pulled out my hand and prepared to get out of bed and go back to my room. When I was going out, I still couldn't help but turn back and ask in a low voice, "Daniel, your hand was so hot just now. Do you have a fever?" Daniel leaned against the head of the bed and said softly, "No, I'm just a bit hot." "Hot? It's almost winter and he's still hot? Is it because of watching the horror movie? Or is it because of some of the scenes in it that made him all worked up?" The latter possibility made me immediately grin lewdly. So even the supporting characters in the story can get so worked up. I reached out brotherly and patted him on the knee. "Thanks, buddy, for tonight. Go to bed early and don't get too excited." After saying that, I slipped back into my own room. Without the protagonist's antics, I began to feel sleepy and soon fell into a dream. But in a daze, I heard noises outside the door again. The toilet is really busy tonight. I turned over and fell into a deep sleep. The protagonists are still lovey-dovey every day. As a side character, I occasionally followed Michael to find out how their story was progressing. Michael is simple and cute, and he likes to share everything with me. Sometimes I feel my ears are burning with embarrassment. Our closeness made Benjamin unhappy. He thought I had a crush on his treasure. Even Daniel kept giving me sidelong glances. To maintain my straight man persona, I had to stop deliberately inquiring about things. I carefully recalled the progress of the novel's plot. It's only about 30% done now. I can't go back to my own world until the main text is 100% finished. It seems I have to take the initiative to push the plot forward. Otherwise, I really can't stand the pain of being forced to stay awake at night, eavesdropping and listening to their love stories. I'm so listless every day that I look like a dead dog. My dark circles are almost reaching my heels. The paper people supervisor keeps criticizing me and deducting my salary. It's all because I accidentally clicked on this adult novel and made a few thoughtless comments because my worldview was shaken. After that, I was forced to transmigrate into the book and endure spiritual baptism every day. Alas, the person involved really regrets being so talkative. I looked at the two main characters being lovey-dovey in the company's tea room and sighed softly. Daniel beside me handed me a bottle of water, his tone calm with a touch of unique coolness. Why do you keep staring at Michael? Do you also want him to pour water for you? No, I'm thinking about something. If we're free this weekend, let's go to a hot spring together. I happily patted him on the shoulder. In the original book, the hot spring scene takes up a large part of the plot. All kinds of coquettish and scheming supporting characters appear one after another, causing misunderstandings between the main characters. Then, according to the logic of an adult novel, they have passionate love affairs. The misunderstandings are resolved, their relationship deepens, and all is well in the world. So I have to quickly take the main characters there to progress the plot. When they start their drama, I'll happily pull Daniel aside and wait for it to end. Naturally, when Michael heard about going out to play, he immediately nodded happily. Benjamin naturally agreed dotingly. Daniel looked at me and slowly nodded. I slapped my thigh in delight. Great. Let's go this week. On Friday night, the four of us went to a hot spring hotel in the suburbs. Seeing the affectionate looks between the main characters, I quickly and sensibly pulled Daniel aside. Dude, stay with me these 2 days and don't disturb them. Daniel glanced at my hand on his shoulder and then turned his head to look at me. Why? I thought you really wanted to hang out with Michael. Well, it's not right for us to disturb the lovebirds. It's not appropriate for us to be there. Daniel curled the corner of his mouth. Okay, then what shall we do? Since we're here, let's also go soak in the hot spring. I pulled Daniel into a small hot spring pool with a big smile. The mist was thick and the sound of the water was gurgling, making people feel extremely comfortable. When I was reclining there enjoying myself, suddenly I felt the water surface start to ripple. I opened my eyes and saw that Daniel was just sitting down beside me with a calm expression. The 8-pack abs he showed when he bent down almost blinded my eyes. I consider myself a straight man, but when faced with such a direct display of male attractiveness, I still uncomfortably averted my eyes. Hey, what's up, buddy? You can hear Benjamin and his partner over there. Ha! I pricked up my ears and listened carefully. Beneath the gurgling water sounds were the lovey-dovey voices of my two main character roommates. You two are showing your affection in the dorm and still doing it here at the hot spring. I really didn't want to listen to this live broadcast, so I dragged Daniel towards the room. Let's go back to the room and watch a movie. Aren't you waiting for Michael? Huh? Why should I wait for him? I was confused. It's nothing. Daniel didn't say anything else. He got up, wrapped himself in a bathrobe, and left with me. When booking the rooms, I was careful. I made sure that Daniel's and my rooms weren't next to those of the two main characters so I could have a good sleep tonight. Daniel, let's continue watching movies tonight. Still the one we watched last time? No, let's watch a science fiction movie. I don't believe a science fiction movie can have any inappropriate content. Facts have proven that adult novels really live up to their reputation. Looking at the love scenes that transcended ethnicities, I was filled with annoyance. Too embarrassed to look at Daniel's expression, I immediately reached out to change the movie. A family-themed movie, I don't believe it can be bad. But after a moment, I was truly stunned. This has gone beyond ethics. My 3 views are completely shattered. Blushing, I was about to change the movie again. When I reached out, I accidentally brushed against Daniel's knee. Just as I was about to apologize instinctively, my hand was grabbed. The heat in his palm gave me a start. It seemed that Daniel was having a fever again. I immediately recalled that night when he got hot due to excitement. Could it be the same today? I furtively turned my head to look at him, planning to make a joke, but found that Daniel wasn't looking at me at all. Instead, he continued to stare at the movie screen. His eyelashes drooped slightly, hiding the obscure emotions in his eyes. Daniel, you Samuel, don't you think this actor looks a bit like you? Ha! I looked over in confusion. Where does he look like me? Only then did Daniel turn his head to look at me. His eyes were deep and his voice was hoarse. Both of you have very slender waists. His gaze was straightforward and there was definitely something off about it. I unconsciously straightened my waist. Why is Daniel acting so strangely all of a sudden? Just when I was at a loss, my phone rang. Michael called me. I heaved a sigh of relief and hurriedly answered the call. Michael's voice was soft and hoarse, which gave me the creeps. Hey, Samuel, Benjamin and I are going for a barbecue in the wild. Do you and Daniel want to come? Daniel beside me got up and walked towards the bathroom. His posture was a little strange. I'm not going. Oh, okay. I didn't really want to go anyway. But it was really awkward for me here, especially since Daniel seemed to be looking at me in a strange way just now. Sure, wait a sec. As I rushed out, I noticed that the bathroom door was tightly closed. There was the sound of rushing water inside. Tut, what's wrong with the useless roommate? Has he also been influenced by the trend of adult novels? I scratched my head and hurriedly left. When I arrived at the location where the protagonists were having a barbecue in the wild, I found there were many people I didn't know. I recalled this part of the plot in the novel. They should be Benjamin's friends who came to visit him specifically. Among them, there was a sleazy man who took a fancy to Michael. There was also a useless female supporting character who had always had a secret crush on Benjamin. These two geniuses hit it off and planned to use despicable means to poach the corner together. But after all, the protagonists are the protagonists. Of course, they have the protagonist aura, so this is not a problem. Seeing that these dramas were about to unfold in front of me, I was still a little excited. I immediately rushed over to be an audience and watch the show. I have to say, the sleazy man looked quite decent. When I accidentally interacted with him, he smiled very gently. But soon I saw the sleazy man furtively putting drugs into a glass. Then he walked in the direction of Michael and me. Here he comes, he's coming with the plot point. Just as I was struggling with how to make Michael suffer less, the creepy man stopped in front of me. I saw him hand me the cup in an ambiguous tone. Sweetie, I'm so glad to meet you. How about having a drink with me? What on earth is this? Looking at the glass of wine that obviously had some drugs in it, I was as confused as an old man looking at his phone on the subway. Dude, you've got the wrong person, right? I twitched the corners of my mouth, forced out a couple of dry laughs, and then declined. Sorry, bro, I don't drink. The sleazy guy didn't give up. Just have a little sip. You're Benjamin's friend, so naturally you're also my friend. Since we hit it off so well, I'd like to have more of a chat with you. You're not trying to be my friend. You're just eyeing my body. Disgusting. Bah. But he's an important supporting character in this part of the plot, and I can't just punch him in the face right away. So I just smiled and refused again. The sleazy guy's face darkened. Sweetie, are you not giving me face? Seeing the tense atmosphere between us, Michael next to me immediately took the glass of wine voluntarily. Samuel really can't drink. I'll have it. After saying that, he gulped down the drugged wine before the sleazy guy could say anything. His eyes soon became hazy. I was extremely shocked. I quickly snatched the glass, kicked the sleazy guy away, and supported Michael, whose hands and feet were going weak. Michael, how are you? I'm okay, just feeling hot. After drinking a glass of drugged wine, of course you'll be so hot that you'll be crying for your parents. I hurriedly tried to pick him up to go find Benjamin and advance the plot. But just as I put my hands on his waist, I heard two sinister voices above my head. What are you two doing? Samuel, take your hands off him. I was stunned. Looking up, I saw Benjamin and Daniel standing in front of me. Their faces were as black as if they just dug coal, one darker than the other. Especially Daniel. There was still a bit of steam from his just-taken shower on him. It seemed that he came to find me right after taking a shower. However, the angry looks in his eyes were like flying daggers, as if accusing me of suddenly leaving the straight man camp. I closed my eyes in despair. Oh no, I'm afraid I've caused a misunderstanding. At this critical moment, my survival instinct immediately kicked in. I quickly explained what had just happened in a few words and then sensibly handed Michael to Benjamin. That's what happened. I didn't do anything. Benjamin's expression softened a bit. After thanking me, he carried Michael away. I decided not to get involved in the matter of them later teaching that sleazy guy and the female supporting character a lesson. Benjamin alone could handle it. Just as I let out a sigh of relief and was about to share some feelings with Daniel, he pulled me towards the room. I struggled slightly. Daniel, what's going on? You're holding me so tightly that it hurts, buddy. Dude, I've hardly eaten any of the barbecue yet. Why are you so angry? Didn't you say you wouldn't come just now? But he just kept a straight face without saying a word and directly dragged me into the room. Bang. As soon as the door closed, he pinned me against the wall. This aggressive posture immediately made me feel a bit uncomfortable. Daniel, what are you doing? Do you like Michael? He asked me calmly. I shook my head in confusion. How could that be? I'm straight. But your actions these days don't seem like those of a straight man. Being questioned about my sexual orientation, I was like a cat whose tail had been stepped on and immediately retorted. Nonsense. Give me a set of test questions and I'll definitely prove to be 100% straight. A moment later, looking at the final result of that sexual orientation test, I fell silent. Who can tell me what this bisexual means? It must be a bug. It has to be a bug. I refused to believe it and took the test again. The result was still bisexual. I got angry. There's something wrong with this test. How could I be gay? I'm a pure straight man. It must be influenced by adult novels. What's wrong with it? Take the test yourself and you'll know. Daniel glanced at me and slowly started to do the test. I just didn't believe that this pure straight man supporting character would also get a wrong result. Then I saw his test result. He was gay and a 100% pure gay at that. I was stunned. Then I said angrily, see, there's something wrong with this test. Daniel didn't say anything and took a few more tests. All the results showed that he was a 100% pure gay. I was completely dumbfounded. It can't be that all the test papers are faulty, right? So, Daniel. I looked at him tremulously and nervously swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Dude, you're really gay? Yes, I'm gay, Samuel. Even the sexual orientation of a supporting character can be affected. I was just about to comfort him when I found that Daniel was looking at me with extremely intense eyes. This made me instinctively cover my butt and stammered to ask, well, how did you become gay? Because of you. Daniel leaned slightly towards me. His posture was domineering, but his tone was gentle. There was undisguised affection in his eyes. A straight man told me that he became gay because of me. A series of complex and unpredictable emotions like, what the hell, and this is so ridiculous, flashed across my eyes. I wanted to reject him directly, but I didn't know how. In the end, I could only muster up the courage to reveal the secret. Daniel, actually, I'm not from this world. I can't give you any response to your feelings for me. Give up. After hearing this, Daniel just nodded calmly, his expression unchanged. I know. I almost dropped my jaw in surprise. You know? How did you know? The cold-looking man stepped back and straightened up, putting some distance between us. I realized early on that this world is abnormal because everyone around me has the same face, ordinary and featureless. Even everyone's movement trajectories are mechanical, fixed, and controlled as if serving someone. Until I saw you. Your face is different from others. You were lively, cheerful, and good-looking. At that moment, I realized that you don't belong to our world. So I can't help but cast my eyes on you and watch you constantly getting closer to and matchmaking between Michael and Benjamin. You seem to have known for a long time that they would get together. Right? I was completely stunned by his accurate words. I was like a dog stunned by a hammer, blinking several times before coming to my senses. Are paper people this smart these days? I admired him and gave him a thumbs up. Dude, it's a pity you're not the male lead with this IQ. Male lead? So, this world is a book? Daniel precisely grasped the key point in my words. I nodded and finally slowly told him the truth. Yes, this is a virtual BL novel, the kind without any morals. Benjamin and Michael are the protagonists and we're all cannon fodder side characters. I accidentally got trapped in here. I can only return to my own world after the main story ends. Daniel pursed his lips. After a long silence, he asked me gravely, when will the main story end? Probably when our annual leave ends, Benjamin and Michael will move out of the shared apartment. That's when I'll leave. So, Daniel, we're still buddies, got it? I gently rejected him again. Daniel scoffed twice, lifted his eyelids to look at me, his eyes deep. I don't want to be just buddies with you. I was at a loss for words and finally sighed in despair. Damn it. I've gotten myself into a romantic mess after transmigrating into this book. What bad luck. To avoid this unwanted romance, I booked a new room for myself and slept alone that night. When I returned to my room listlessly, I happened to see Benjamin scolding the male and female supporting characters who were asking for trouble. Well, about 80% of the plot has been completed. As long as I can just hold on for a while longer. But what about Daniel? I tossed restlessly, burying my face in the pillow and wailing silently. The next day, I deliberately avoided walking with Daniel. Even when I got back to the shared apartment, I stayed in my room alone. Not to mention avoiding him at the company. Daniel didn't bother me, but he still brought me breakfast, saved me a seat, and handled work matters for me. It made me seem like a heartless playboy. After a few days, Michael noticed something was wrong and came over to show his concern. Samuel, did you quarrel with Daniel? No. I denied it subconsciously. But you used to stick to Daniel. Since you came back from the hot spring hotel, you two have been acting so distant. There's no such thing. I've just been a bit busy recently. All right, go back quickly. If you talk to me a bit more, Benjamin will beat me up. I joked with him with a big smile. Michael blushed and skipped away to be affectionate with Benjamin. I'll probably leave after the spring festival. It's really unmanly to keep being at odds with Daniel. I still cherish my friendship with this character from the book. Thinking like this, I turned my head and looked at Daniel, who had been quietly looking at me for I don't know how long. Want to play ranked tonight? I'll carry you when we get back to the shared apartment. Daniel's eyes lit up. Sure. I made up with Daniel. He didn't say he liked me anymore. Instead, he really accompanied me like an excellent friend. As time went by, I almost suspected that I had hallucinated that night at the hot spring hotel. During the annual leave, I celebrated the new year with my paper-thin parents. Since Daniel couldn't see me, he started having voice chats with me online every day. We talked about games, work, and the two main characters. Occasionally, I would even talk about things in my original world. Every time Daniel listened to me, he would say in a low voice, "If only I could leave with you." My hand clutching the phone tightened suddenly, and I didn't know what to say for a long time. There was just an indescribable feeling welling up in my heart. He couldn't leave. He was a virtual paper-thin character, and I was a person from the real world. There was no intersection between us. The new year passed quietly. On the first day back to work after the new year, Daniel and I tidied up the shared rental house covered in dust. At this time, the two main characters who had just arrived at the dormitory proposed to move out. There was happiness in their eyes. After I was stunned for a moment, I joked with them with a smile and then gave them kind blessings. Daniel didn't say a word. He just stared at me fixedly. I didn't dare to look back. A few days later, the two main characters moved out. I enthusiastically saw them off outside the community. Looking at their backs, I felt infinitely emotional. After they moved out, it meant that the plot had officially ended. Daniel and I stood silently at the community entrance. Neither of us said a word. Suddenly, my body began to gradually turn transparent. Daniel immediately held my hand tightly. His thin lips were tightly pursed and his pupils were trembling. Samuel. I didn't pull my hand out. I just looked at him with a smile. Don't be afraid. Daniel, I forgot to tell you something. Actually, my name isn't Samuel. My name is William. William, will you remember me? I nodded seriously. Yes, I'll always remember you. Goodbye, Daniel. I'm going back to my world. After saying that, I gradually disappeared in his deep gaze. When I was about to leave completely, I heard Daniel seem to say something. I'll also always remember you, William, because I love you. I didn't have time to reply to him before I completely lost consciousness. When I opened my eyes again, I was lying in my own bed. Holding my phone in my hand, the phone showed the Haidang novel I had complained about. At this time, the last sentence on the interface read, "The main text is over." It took me a while to come to my senses. Then, with a feeling of great sigh, I read this novel again. Maybe after the impact of the real-life version, I can now read these texts with no lower limits without changing my expression. But the more I read, the tighter my brows frowned. Because in this novel, there are Michael and Benjamin and there is Daniel. But there is no such canon, fodder character named Samuel at all. What's going on? Why have all the traces of my time travel been erased? I skimmed through it quickly and my heart sank to the bottom. It was not until the end of the main text that I saw an extra chapter. It was an extra chapter from Daniel's perspective. In his perspective, there was a person named Samuel. He noticed him, came to like him, and finally fell in love with him. But this person disappeared. Daniel kept looking for him all his life. And the author of this novel was also confused in the comments section. I didn't write this extra chapter and I can't even delete it. There must be a bug. I suddenly felt a lump in my throat. This isn't any bug. Because I really existed. It's just that everyone has forgotten, only Daniel remembers. And his confession to me has always lingered in my ears. I put away my phone, feeling extremely sour inside. I miss him so much. I originally thought that Daniel would become a part of my memory until I went to the new company to report. That day after I reported, I was going to ask the newly appointed manager to sign something. As soon as I pushed the door open, I was stunned. Because there was a man sitting in the manager's office. He looked exactly like Daniel, even the sense of indifference when he drooped his eyes was the same. Seemingly noticing someone coming in, this man looked up at me. Then he slightly curled the corner of his mouth. "Hello, I'm the new general manager, Daniel. We'll be working together from now on. Please take care of me.